The summer of 2014 brought more than just heat to Mosul, it brought terror. Pickup trucks with masked ISIS fighters stormed the city, moving with shocking speed. The Iraqi army, trained for years by the US, collapsed almost overnight. Soldiers abandoned their posts, leaving Mosul defenseless and its people in panic. Families fled north while others locked their doors and prayed. ISIS, a mix of foreign fighters and local Sunnis, seized government buildings and raised their black flag. The world watched in horror as a new, brutal era began. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, ISIS's elusive leader, declared himself caliph from Mosul's great mosque, demanding allegiance from all Muslims. Life in Mosul changed overnight. Music was banned, women were forced into full veils, and public executions became routine. ISIS filmed their own cruelty, spreading fear through slick propaganda. The city's nightmare was broadcast to the world. The fall of Mosul was more than a military defeat, it was a psychological shock. ISIS wasn't just a terrorist group, it was a proto-state with global ambitions. Their message was clear, they wanted the world to be afraid. For a time it seemed their dark empire would only grow, but the seeds of their downfall were already being sown. ISIS's roots trace back to the chaos after the 2003 US invasion of Iraq. Born as al-Qaeda in Iraq under Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, the group thrived on sectarian violence. Zarqawi's death in 2006 weakened them, but the group survived, rebranding as the Islamic State of Iraq. The American surge in Sunni tribal resistance nearly destroyed them, but they hid, waiting for opportunity. That came with Syria's civil war, a lawless vacuum perfect for rebuilding. Under Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, ISIS broke from al-Qaeda, seeking not just terror but statehood. Baghdadi recruited ex-Saddam officers, turning ISIS into a disciplined army. They exploited sectarian divides, presenting themselves as Sunni protectors. Their propaganda machine drew thousands of foreign fighters. By 2014, ISIS was no longer just a terrorist group. It was a well-funded army controlling territory the size of Great Britain. Their rise was a product of war, chaos, and failed governance. The world would soon be forced to respond. The Caliphate's ambitions had become too big to ignore. The fall of Mosul jolted the world into action. ISIS's black flag over a major city was a wake-up call for governments everywhere. Their propaganda, including the execution of Western hostages, demanded a response. In September 2014, the US formed a global coalition, Operation Inherent Resolve, to destroy ISIS. Dozens of countries joined, offering air power, intelligence, and aid. The coalition's goal: fight ISIS militarily, financially, and ideologically. For the US and Europe, it was about stopping terror at home. For Iraq, it was survival. The coalition united unlikely partners, from Western powers to regional rivals. There would be no large-scale Western ground invasion. Local forces would lead, backed by overwhelming air support. The world, finally united, prepared for a long, grinding fight. The strategy was clear: empower local fighters, avoid past mistakes. The stage was set for a new kind of war. Victory over ISIS came from a fragile alliance of local and international forces. In Iraq, the rebuilt army, federal police, and elite counterterrorism service led the charge, supported by coalition airstrikes. Shia militias, the popular mobilization forces, played a key role but also fueled sectarian tensions. In Syria, the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, including the YPG, became the coalition's main partner. Their alliance with the US was pragmatic but angered Turkey, which saw the YPG as a threat. The coalition was a web of competing interests: Kurds, Shia militias, Iraqi government, and Western powers. Trust was scarce, and rivalries simmered beneath the surface. The US had to balance support, prevent infighting, and keep the alliance focused on ISIS. The war was as much a diplomatic challenge as a military one. Only a shared enemy held this uneasy coalition together. The coalition's strategy fused modern technology with local ground combat. The US avoided large deployments, instead enabling Iraqi, Kurdish, and Syrian partners to fight. Relentless airstrikes targeted ISIS command centers, weapons, and oil infrastructure. Intelligence from satellites, drones, and local sources guided precision strikes. Special forces operated in the shadows, advising and assisting local commanders. They called in airstrikes, trained fighters, and helped plan urban assaults. This partnership was a force multiplier, crucial for urban warfare. The approach was slow and difficult, but aimed to build lasting peace by empowering local forces. The coalition learned from past wars: avoid power vacuums, let locals lead. The war against ISIS became a test of this new model, fought with shadow and steel. It was a gamble, but one the world hoped would prevent another ISIS from rising. The outcome would shape future conflicts. The coalition's strategy faced its first test in Kobani, a Syrian border town besieged by ISIS in late 2014. Outnumbered Kurdish YPG fighters, including women, held out against ISIS's heavy weapons. The world watched as defeat seemed certain. But the defenders' courage, combined with relentless US airstrikes, turned the tide. After 4 months, Kobani was liberated. ISIS's myth of invincibility shattered, yet the war was far from over. In May 2015, ISIS captured Ramadi, exposing the Iraqi army's fragility. The loss forced a rethink. The coalition intensified training and embedded special forces with Iraqi units. The campaign to retake Ramadi was slow and methodical, with Iraqi forces encircling the city and cutting off ISIS supplies. The battle was brutal. ISIS filled the city with explosives, turning every street into a trap. But by early 2016, Ramadi was retaken. The victory proved Iraqi forces, with the right support, could win urban battles. Kobani and Ramadi became turning points. The coalition adapted, learning from each fight. The myth of ISIS's unstoppable advance was broken. The path to Mosul and Raqqa was now open. With momentum building, the coalition targeted ISIS's twin capitals, Mosul and Raqqa. The battle for Mosul, launched in October 2016, was the largest urban fight since World War II. Over 100,000 Iraqi and allied fighters faced thousands of entrenched ISIS militants. The fighting was savage. ISIS used tunnels, car bombs, and human shields. The old city became a deadly maze, with civilians trapped in the crossfire. After 9 months, Mosul was liberated. The great mosque of Al-Nuri, where the Caliphate was declared, lay in ruins. Meanwhile, the Syrian Democratic Forces, backed by coalition airstrikes, assaulted Raqqa. ISIS fought with snipers, booby traps, and more human shields. After 4 months, Raqqa fell. Its central square, once a site of executions, was reclaimed. The fall of Mosul and Raqqa in 2017 marked the end of ISIS's territorial caliphate. Their capitals lost, their state destroyed. ISIS's dream of a caliphate was over. But the cost of victory was staggering. The world would soon reckon with the aftermath. Defeating ISIS came at a staggering price. Cities like Mosul, Ramadi, and Raqqa were left in ruins, their infrastructure shattered. Millions were displaced, returning to homes reduced to rubble. Tens of thousands of soldiers and civilians died, many victims of ISIS brutality, others of the war to destroy them. Heavy airstrikes in dense cities led to high civilian casualties, drawing criticism from human rights groups. The alliance that defeated ISIS was effective but fraught with tension. US support for Kurdish forces angered Turkey, while Iran-backed militias complicated Iraq's politics. Despite these challenges, the coalition adapted, improving coordination and tactics. Lessons learned in one battle were applied to the next, but civilian suffering remained high. The shared enemy held the alliance together, but old rivalries soon resurfaced. The victory was real, but so were the scars, physical, political, and human. Rebuilding would take years, if not decades. The war's legacy was as complex as its battles. In March 2019, ISIS's last territory fell in Baghouz, Syria. The black flag was gone, the Caliphate erased from the map. But the idea survived. ISIS reverted to insurgency, hiding in deserts and mountains. Sleeper cells still launch attacks, aiming to destabilize and wait for a comeback. The group's leader, Baghdadi, was killed, but ISIS quickly named a successor. Affiliates in Africa and Asia continue to pledge allegiance, and propaganda still spreads online. Thousands of foreign fighters remain in limbo, some posing future threats. The war's legacy is a cautionary tale. Victory on the battlefield doesn't solve the root causes. Sectarianism, poor governance, and instability remain, fertile ground for extremism. The shadow of the Caliphate is gone, but its echoes will haunt the region for years to come.